Yes. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our improv show, and we are barely. Yes. Well, I'm just gonna level with you here. As you can see, I'm up here alone because my team, Justin, Lindsay, and Eric, they have the coronavirus, so they're stuck at home and sick. And I thought, why not try to heal the world with laughter? Because that's the best medicine, right? You know, besides medicine. So why don't we just go on with this, roll with the punches, and you guys throw out a one-word suggestion. I'll tell a story from there, and we'll get this improv show going. Anybody?
You suck.
No profanity, please.
You should quit comedy.
Okay. Well, I think I heard duck, duck, goose. All right, you know what? That's my time. We've been barely. Good night. I'm going to go kill myself.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the comedy club news that you didn't know about. The coronavirus put the entire world on a full stop. Essentially, every single industry is scrambling to work around the upheaval. In previous episodes of this show, I've covered how movie studios, festivals, and theaters, musical artists, gaming companies, and even Broadway are trying to keep their respective industries afloat as the economy careens downward. And by the way, the prequel to Coffee and Kareem is now available on Netflix as Coffee and Kareen. It's not a sponsor. Now, so stupid. The question is, how will comedy, that thing this show attempts to at sometimes, like that last joke, will bounce back? More specifically, how will comedy clubs return to their former glory? If you frequently visit the paternal website of this show, that is Newstime, cpluscomedy.com, for the scores of viewers I know I have, you'd see that I recently spoke with famed blue-collar comedian Larry the Cable Guy. We spoke right before the pandemic really kicked off. Like right before, like a day or two. Like people in Atlanta were just hoarding groceries, restaurants were still a little bit open, and I even saw The Invisible Man in theaters. During our discussion, I asked him about how comedy could bounce back after the pandemic ends. Larry, the giving soul he is, suggested comedians give back as much as possible. He even suggested he himself may host a benefit for a local comedy club in Nebraska because they had to lay off their staff. I like the idea, I really do, but it got me thinking about the other clubs. UCB, one of, if not the most known names in improv comedy, recently shut down its formal New York spaces due to problems with maintaining the lease. Co-founders Amy Poehler, Matt Walsh, Matt Besser, and Ian Roberts plan on retaining the LA stages, and those in New York still wanting to take UCB classes could be on the lookout for a UCB pop-up style shop workshops. This particular organization isn't immune. Really immune? Past Chad, you couldn't have found a better phrase? This particular organization isn't exempt from problems from within. Just recently, in terms of shutdowns of the pandemic variety, all of the New York staff was laid off days before the annual improv-driven Del Close Marathon was canceled, and the theaters were closed 2 days just before that. It's part of a larger issue with communication within UCB as a whole, but still, the staff got the short end of the stick when it came to the situation. UCB is just one institution, though. With a focus now mostly on the Los Angeles theaters, they more or less have some sort of vision for the future. What about the other ones? Blossoming comedians can check out young but storied comedy club Flappers in Burbank, California, which is offering online courses and shows. The Groundlings are doing the same thing. And wouldn't you know it, it's pretty darn successful. 400 people have signed up in and out of the states, and maybe when all shutdowns and pandemics are all over, perhaps some of these changes might be permanent. What if comedy clubs around the U.S. shared their classes with students around the world? It's a lofty goal for sure, but it's got to be part of the conversation going forward. Any avid comedy podcast listener can see that shows are having a tough time meshing. If you thought intern Gino talked over everyone on Comedy Bang Bang before, you are in for a treat. That joke's for nobody but 7 people. Not even 7 people watch this show. While it's nice to see the ongoing plans of the comedy clubs most known, what comes of the clubs in your neck of the woods? More specifically, my neck of the woods. More specifically, somewhere over there. I'm talking about Dad's Garage here in Atlanta. It's that way, I swear. How are they coping with this madness? Very early on, the organization decided it would be best not to host its previously planned carnival fundraiser, as it would cost more to put it on than they'd be earning. Days later, on March 16th, literally a day before I'd be going to the gym for the very last time, they announced the theater would be closed for the time being, as all shows would be moved online. For the time being. Funds were raised for those facing economic uncertainty, but it wasn't limited to just the staff. Dads mostly offered up the money for those who were volunteers with the organization or didn't have any other sources of income besides working with Dad's Garage. Not every company did that. And look, I know this is a comedy show with jokes sometimes and 0 laughs, but this is serious. You know, it's true because 6 of the last 10 episodes of News Time have been about the coronavirus. Comedy clubs are suffering just like the rest of the industry. However, Dad's Garage and the Atlanta comedy community are coming together. The theater is streaming live on Twitch with famous friends such as Lucky Yates and Amber Nash of FXX's Archer. At the time of the writing of the script of this episode, Yates was eating lunch with Alton Brown over video chat. What a time we live in, and what kind of famous people live in Atlanta. Recently, I spoke with Dad's Garage managing director Lara Smith and artistic director John Carr about how the theater company is keeping afloat, as well as how they plan to return to form in the future. Check it out.
Hey, John.
Yes, how's it going?
I'm doing well. What about yourself?
I'm doing good,
Hey, Chad.
Hello, it's Lara, correct?
Laura.
Okay. You know what? All weekend I was thinking, I gotta say it the right way.
Dude, I mean, everyone who spells it this way says it differently. So I can't blame you.
How long have you guys been stuck inside?
Our last show was March 13th.
Okay.
And we have been all working from home kind of probably the week after that. Is that right, John?
Yeah, basically. So it's been more than a month now.
Obviously, it couldn't have been easy because, Dad's Garage is improv and live, and you need to be near people. Was that transition for your jobs easy, or was it kind of difficult to switch into that role?
Well, I handle the business side of the organization, and I've been with the organization now in this role for almost 8 years. So I was with the organization when we lost our long-term home in Inman Park, and then moved to Little Five Points, and then to Old Fourth Ward, where we are now. And during that time, we didn't have office space for 2.5 years. So I really kind of learned like best practices on managing people and a company from afar. And so I felt really well positioned. Now, pivoting programming is a whole nother thing, and I'll let John handle that.
Yeah, again, that one we got real lucky with. Our marketing director also is a Twitch streamer, and so she was able to help us get everything kind of set up. So I think our last show was on Friday, and our first Twitch stream was on Monday. So the fact that we kind of made the transition in a weekend was pretty spectacular. But that's a lot because of her and her just knowledge of everything, helping us get that set up.
Now, John, did you find that switching the scheduling of the shows to online, was that obviously not every show is going to translate easily, but was
Right.
did the performers besides Lucky and Amber, did they all find it a not easy transition, but a good transition for them? Like, were they able to get it done right?
Well, I think we're in a kind of a unique situation because there's definitely, when we talk about like a show that we put up on a Saturday at 8:00, people are like, "Oh, that looks amazing. You guys are just doing it off the top of your head." And it's like, well, no, we put a lot of work and time and effort into it on the back end, preparing the shows, doing workshops, organizing things, and that sort of thing, because we want stuff at the highest quality. The unique thing about this is we've never done any sort of like live online stuff like we're doing now. And so for us, we've kind of approached it as, hey, our audience understands we've never done this. We understand we never done this. And improv is all about saying yes and embracing failure. And so we really took that approach to it. Like, all right, we're just going to try it. We're going to go 100 miles an hour into this void that we don't know very well. And we're going to give it all we've got to make this work. And so the cool thing is the artists jumped on board with that challenge. It's exciting because it's something new. It's something we're learning. It's something we're growing in. And I think that's been the thing that has been exciting to the artists to try that. And just the fact of like, half of the reason we do those Twitch and online stuff is to entertain our audience, keep our folks engaged, and to raise money. But the other half is to keep our artists from going insane. Like, that's what we do. We do improv, we do create stuff. And so we just want to create. And this is just gives us another platform to try some of those things.
So with these type of offerings, and then also the thought of the resurgence, what does a socially distanced, that's the question. What does a socially distanced dads look like?
So I'm actually really lucky to be on the Mayor's Advisory Council for reopening the city.
Okay.
And so I've been thinking a lot about that. To me and to the entire sector, frankly, it's really important that it be data-driven, so that it be something that is safe to do. And so we're talking about how do we create pockets within this, fixed seating? How do you create pockets where people can sit with their loved ones who they're living with? And then there's 6 feet in between them and other people. So looking at taping off seats, looking at creating spaces in the lobby where there's also some clear delineation. So there would be a capped capacity, obviously, because that's going to decrease the amount of people that can attend shows. Also looking at how do we change what happens at the bar so that that's a quicker, easier setup. Keeping all the doors open so that people don't have to touch shared doors. And going to no cash. It's interesting because we have the opportunity to borrow from industries that have already been open, like airlines and grocery stores. So we're looking at best practices from those organizations and kind of looking at I think it's likely to be a ramp up into things. It's not going to be I'm looking at a scenario where it's safe to gather 20 or fewer people. And then another scenario where it's safe to gather 50 or fewer people. And then another scenario where it's safe to gather 100 or fewer people. And then another scenario where it's safe to gather 250 or fewer people. And so I think just kind of looking at it as a ramp up, the safety of our performers, of our family, of Atlanta is more important to us. So we'll wait to see what the CDC or other similar institutions say in terms of gathering. But in the meantime, we're starting to kind of lay out the space to make sure that people can exist in socially distant ways.
Okay. Let's say it's November and they just magically everybody, they're like, all right, we got the vaccine. Everybody can go out and do everything. And you guys are starting up more 100 people shows and everything in the audience. I spoke to Larry the Cable Guy about a month ago, and he lives in Nebraska, and he was talking about how in Omaha he has a friend who owns a comedy club, and he's talking about doing a benefit for them. And Never Not Funny, Jimmy Pardo, they did something on Saturday for Flappers in order to raise money for the Flapper staff. It was just another fundraiser. Would you ever hold a fundraiser for yourself in order to raise money for the staff and anybody else who needs it, with the help of your friends like Lucky Yates and Alton Brown and Amber Nash and the rest of everybody?
I mean, absolutely. To John's point, once we realized that the organization was going to be okay, I think the emergency fund is a perfect example of that, where we were able to give $23,000 to family members who were in need, and we're just about to give out another $12,000. And also because of the way we operate, everyone is on W-2. And so all of our folks were eligible for unemployment. And so anyone who wanted to apply, per Georgia Department of Labor, the organization applied for them. So we have 139 people on W-2 and 35 people are currently on unemployment because their revenue has decreased because we're not doing as many shows. The folks doing Twitch are still getting paid. We're not doing as many classes, but the teachers who are teaching are getting paid. And we're not doing as many corporate workshops, although we did just have our first digital one. So I think we would definitely explore a fundraiser, but we want to make sure that we're not taking advantage of the generosity of our artists. And Twitch right now has been paying for itself. We're getting donations through that. And so we're trying to find ways that we can remain financially stable while continuing to take care of our people and trying to balance not asking too much of them with supporting the organization, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. This really helps.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it. I wish you guys the best of luck. I will always be supporting Dad's, my favorite comedy institution in Georgia. And the Southeast.
I love hearing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Keep up the good work, and I wish you well and all the best.
Hey, that's new. Thanks, future Chad. Boy, I hope we're wearing the same shirt. Check out the full interview right here on the YouTube channel. Comedy clubs and theaters are maneuvering during a time when no one knows what next week is going to look like. A lot of them are being forced to evolve with the times, contemplating keeping the new arms of business. For now, every day is an improv show, and the world is the creaky, poorly built stage. Nope, didn't like that. I know improv is all yes and, but that last line was dumb. Let's try some more improv. Okay, well, I usually improv the subscribe part of this show, so, all right, my improv team is still sick, so we'll be coming back at you with this. Why don't you subscribe, check out one of our other shows. Of course, you can head over to the website cpluscomedy.com. I've mentioned it so many times. It's got your favorite interviews with your favorite comedians. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen, subscribe, and rate the Constitutionals podcast wherever you get your podcast. And that about does it. Thank you for listening. We're the Motorboaters. We changed our name, and we'll be seeing you later. Good show, guys. Good show.